So why does anybody pay attention to the RCP average anyways? It just aggregates everything. It's whacked, really. It doesn't appear to have a good track record either. I wouldn't expect it to, frankly. They are literally distorting good data with bad data. That's what an aggregate is, isn't it? This is an article at the RCP site asking why anybody pays attention to the LA Times poll. And in the process of their argument, they're arguing in favor of the LA Times poll because RCP is a right-leaning site. Everybody knows that. I've known that from the start, right? I knew from, I don't know when I've known this since like 2012 or something, that RCP is a right-leaning site. It's like, this entire cycle, there was never any question that when I go to RCP, I'm going to a Republican source. And I never really paid much attention to the actual averages. It's just more useful to me that they list the polls. So when a new poll is released, you want to know when a new poll is released, you go to the list of polls. And that's what RCP was useful to me for, is that they have a list of polls. That's it. I've never really taken any of the analysis at RCP seriously at all. And when I've read it, and I have read it a few times, it's been mostly to criticize it. And here, they're standing up for the LA Times poll by pointing out that they were closer than RCP was. So hold on here. You want to point to a completely unscientific way to try to measure public opinion, and then you want to say that it's reasonable because it's better than you? I don't think that that's an argument in favor of the LA Times. I think that that's a really strong argument against Real Clear Politics and the methods that they're using. See, I refuse to refer to what the Times is doing as a poll because it's not randomizing, it's respondents. Meaning that what RCP is really arguing here is that their aggregates are worse than luck. You would have a better chance of being right by luck, by sheer luck, than by consulting the RCP average. That's really, and RCP itself is making the argument. I've been over this in a few of these things. The problem with what RCP does is it takes too much data in. It just takes everything. It just averages everything out. And like I say, when you have good data and bad data, you don't want to... the bad data does not improve the good data. Now, let me be clear, okay? What the assumption is that you're going to have some polls that are... Let's say that the truth is that Clinton is winning by 5 points. Then you're going to have some, polling that says that Clinton is up by 10 points, and you're going to have some polling that says that Clinton's at 0, or that they're tied. And if you average them out, you'll get to the true point, which is that it's at 5 points. And what you're doing is you're assuming that the polling is normally distributed and that the correct answer is right in the middle. I think that's a pretty hefty assumption. What you actually tend to see I wasn't really paying that much attention in 2012, but what we're seeing in this election is that we're seeing that the good data is probably roughly normally distributed, right? Like the reliable polling, if you were to just take an aggregate of only the reliable polling, then it would be probably normally distributed. But then you have this wide variety of other stuff, like the LA Times poll, or the Rasmussen poll, and it's kind of a combination of either, okay, this is polling that's not using scientific methodologies, and I'm sorry, but I don't think the LA Times is a scientific poll. And then you have polling that's just skewed, right? And I know that, the Trump people are going to say, the corporate media is skewing it, the liberal media. Like, the liberal media, what planet do you live on that you think the media is liberal, right? You mean the corporate media? Okay. But they have a responsibility, Like let's step out of La La Land here. Let's go back up the rabbit hole and let's re-enter reality. Okay, where corporate institutions and mainstream media institutions have a responsibility to follow certain kinds of practices, and these are things that Rasmussen or Breitbart or Gravis don't do, right? And because this is a Republican-leaning site, he's essentially, or I don't know if it's a he or a she or if it's a panel or whatever, but the RCP site is being taken in by this, whether it's willing or just, whether they're being blinded by faith or whether they're going along with it, out of corruption. They are allowing the reliable polling, which, like I say, is probably actually following a normal distribution, to be totally fucked over by all of this screwy data. The screwy data is coming from online polling, which is not reliable, and it's coming from just biased polling, which is not reliable either. And it's all skewing heavily towards Trump. So when he looked at this, panel, it's not even a poll. When he looks at it, he says, this unscientific panel outperformed me. That's an argument against you, RCP. It's not an argument in favor of them.